Somewhat of a good segue, I think, to kind of the next topic that we can kind of talk about. And I don't even know if this is even a possibility, but so I kind of want to ask you, like, what does actually like getting back to normal look like? And when I talked earlier at the beginning, talking about the some of the tweets that you had tweeted, one of them was I don't want to go read the whole thing or whatever, but you're kind of alluding about like what it means to get back to normal. So like, because like would that just mean what it was like pre-COVID, or like what does that exactly mean for some people? Like, do you know, or like from your experience?
Yeah. So you know what, I don't mind, because it's worth the reference to for me to look it up really quick and read it, because it actually, I know that there were people that kind of took it to talk a little bit about COVID, and I guess in a weird sort of way, I might have been a little bit, but it wasn't really necessarily that. It was just more kind of like one of my little life reflecting moments, based a little bit more on some hard times that a couple of my friends have been through recently. And let's see if I can scroll. I have to scroll down past all the cop hate to get to. There it is. I found it. All right.
Well, as far as I know, the whole getting back to normal, I don't know if it originated during COVID or what, but I mean, you hear that a lot. Well, we just got to do this to get back to normal.
Well, so I think that concept has basically been around. It's like as old as time. So the thing, right. what I said is that after going through trying times, and again, I don't necessarily mean COVID. It could just be, you're just someone who's had some bad luck. Maybe you're out of a job. Maybe you're having a relationship problem. I mean, it can be anything. But I know the last couple of years have been hard on a lot of people. After going through trying times, many of us, myself included, have echoed the desire to get back to normal. But the older I get, the more I think that that's not really a thing. I don't think life gets back or forth from normal or not. I think it just kind of moves on. Normal in this context really means back to before, but there's no going back in time. That's the true tragedy of our condition. And what sort of, I mean, I can think of myself, like I don't want to like get on a big soapbox and talk about my life or anything, but before I was a retarded late night show host, I mean, I've been a jazz musician, I've been a business owner. I opened a printing company when I was 21 years old and ran that for basically my entire 20s till I was about 28 years old. I've been a nonprofit of a theater, or a vice president of a theater-based nonprofit. I've done a lot of different things in a relatively short time. And there's some tough times mixed in there, segueing from one to the other. I mean, we've all been there, right? Like, we've all been doing our budgets and scratching our head at tax time and like I said, relationships, whatever. So I myself have been in the position before of, man, things are really tough right now. I've got my rosy colored glasses on, and I'm remembering when before this moment, I thought things were better. I just want to get back to that. I'm 36 years old. I don't get to play music as much as I used to. Boy, if I could go back to being 26 when I was gigging more and stuff like that, if I could get back to that, I'm gonna get my guitar back out. I'm gonna work on my skills. I just win the lottery so that I don't have to worry about paying my bills anymore, and I'll get back to music. It's gonna be so much fun. But the thing is I don't think that's real. I don't think there's such, because you're not really thinking about getting back to normal. You're really thinking more of getting back to who you were and where you were at a different time. But that's not possible, is it? Even if things worked out great for you, it's still not genuinely possible to do it in that context. But I know that from a COVID perspective, you know, a lot of people are thinking, I mean, God forbid you still live in an area where things are not 100%, it's, you know, not clown world anymore. But But whether you do or you don't, I think there's a lot of people who are thinking. Again, I'll use myself an example. When the initial lockdowns happened, I mean, my old producer Blake and I, we ran a studio that I managed, and we did a lot of audio video work, DJing, going out to helping other people organize their events and stuff. The business is gone. It's dead. It's not coming back. A huge amount of our business was a lot of annual events. We used to do all the local, like the United Way does a relay for life, where it's like for breast cancer or cancer victims and survivors and stuff. And they would have these all over the mid-state in different towns and different counties. And we were the provider for a lot of those events. They're gone. So our business is gone, but those events are gone. They didn't have it in 2020. They didn't come back in 2021. They didn't come back this year. They're gone. Those committees have folded. The events are defunct. And it's tough for people. It's tough for people to think about what they've lost. It's understandable for them to be angry because they feel like this was stolen from me. The always the amorphous they ruined our business. They destroyed our events. They took our lives from us. They ruined me financially. They took these years from my life. They kept me from seeing my loved ones. You know, you think of the horror stories of people that didn't get to see their relatives in their dying hours and stuff like that, or funerals, this, that, and the other. I actually had a friend recently whose mother passed away in Canada, and he's not vaccinated. And he had to go to the Canadian government to get an exemption to cross the border, where they would lock him in his hotel room with the exception of going to the funeral and then send him back over the border. That's still happening right now. That was like 2 weeks ago. And so with all of that as the landscape, I know people are thinking, I just want things to get back to normal. What is very hard for people, but will help them, at least psychologically, is to just accept that the people most responsible for all that ill are never going to suffer consequences for their actions. No one's going to arrest Anthony Fauci. None of those governors are going to Gitmo, as Michael Malice likes to say. It's just not going to happen. So for your own, like, just emotional and mental well-being, it'll be better for you to think less about it in terms of people getting their comeuppance and getting back to normal, and more in terms of what can I do to move on? Move on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's that story you're talking about where they had to someone go across the border, lock them
Yeah.
up. Pretty much locked them up, really. I mean, yeah, it's a hotel room. Ooh, that's great.
That was this month. That was May. That happened this month, right now in 2022.
Jeez,
Yep.
that I don't even know what to say about that. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that it's pretty much, if it's not proven, it's pretty much like very plausible that, you know, I way back when I had Keith Knight on, we did the COVID test, not the COVID test, but the COVID map data chart that Tom Woods came out with.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know. Oh yeah, I'll pick this. Oh no, it's not. The numbers don't match up. None of this makes any sense. And people will still pretend, or I don't know, they have this in their head that, oh my God, I might die from, I mean, yeah, it's that, like, I'm not going to say, I'm sure you're not also going to say that COVID isn't some hoax or something like that. People have died from it, but at the same time, it's not going to, people are going to get viruses. Like, you can just get something, you're walking and breathing and something, but you don't know it's going to happen until later on or something like that. But I don't know. It's not like, because sometimes you would joke maybe about this, where, you know, I would take COVID more seriously if there were like dead bodies literally all over the place. Like, you're walking in the city, you're like, oh man, it's dead. Freaking, I gotta get all these dead bodies going on from COVID. It's killing everybody. But yeah, like people not going to funerals and all stuff. You know, I read something that so someone's brother had died. I'm not gonna like name who they are. It's not like it matters, but maybe to kind of keep it private, I suppose. But their brother died, but they didn't go to and the other brother, the older brother, didn't go to the funeral. And his reasoning, and I think it was like in late 2021 or whatever. And the reasoning was, some of the people aren't vaccinated, and some of them weren't going to wear masks. It's like, you're not going to go to your own brother's funeral because some people didn't want to, just go. What's the problem? Yeah, you're going to send a video message. Yeah. That's great, but you're not going to actually go and pay your respects to your own damn brother. What the hell is wrong with you? I'm sorry. Come on. If my younger brother had died from COVID, you bet, I don't care where he's at. You bet you I'd do my absolute damnedest to be like, I'm going to see, pays my respects, whatever. But the fact that, he was vaccinated, oh man, that was another thing too about this whole thing. I thought it's these people are delusional. He was so proud of the fact that he was vaxxed 3 times, whatever. He was about to get the next one. But then he died from COVID. And 3 times it didn't work. Come on.
So there you go. We're I feel like we're trying to introduce white pills in between all of our rants. So there's another silver lining right there. It's kind of the same. It's the same comparison as the one I made about the two sides of how do you see police after what happened in the recent shooting. COVID's the same thing. Is that when you've seen the data, when you've seen the trajectory of cases and deaths in the different states, when you see what they did to people, you see how they destroyed people's lives. You look at other places like Canada and Australia, New Zealand, places like that, where they're just mowing down freaking protesters over this stuff. When you see all that, when you it's kind of like what do you trust, right? When you see all the coverage on TV, do you remember all the way back in the very beginning when they were showing that footage from China where they literally did show footage of people just collapsing in the street? And we know today that was all bullshit. We know that. You could have suspected it then, but we know it was all bullshit. And so that's kind of like the red/white pill, right? That I feel. So you either again, and so when I say the proverbial you, I'm kind of talking to just the generic normie. I'm not talking about to libertarians or whatever, just the generic normie. The generic normie you either see that it was all bullshit and the data and the cases and the jabs, it was, none of it adds up. The boosters, all that garbage. And then when you see what happened to people that dare speak out against the official narrative, when you see how the official narrative wax and wanes, something that you would say one day that would get you permanently banned and they would call your boss to try to get you fired. 6 weeks later, that's on the CDC's website, right? So when you see all that happen, you can only believe one of two things. You can either see that there's that what we are regarding as the news, the media, the information coming out is a carefully constructed narrative to pursue an agenda, and that it is not legitimate, and therefore that it also then casts doubt on a great many other things having to do with the establishment. Or you believe these wise overlords genuinely had your best interest at heart, and that there's 1 million dead people in the state of Florida right now. I'm in Tennessee. I don't know. I can't see them, but I think that there's corpses just washing up when the evening tide in Florida. You either believe one or the other. And again, if you believe the second one, you're a lost cause. You and I don't need to waste any more breath on those people. There's clearly nothing anything can be said or done to persuade those people. And I'm not criticizing Tom Woods, by the way. Tom Woods is a friend of mine. He's been on the show several times. I love Tom. That website he did with the COVID charts was brilliant. However, and again, I'm this is going to come off bad and everyone's going to say I'm an asshole. I don't mean this as a criticism, but charts don't matter, because you're going to fall into one of those two camps. And if you fall into the prior camp of this is bullshit and I don't trust the government, then you don't really need the charts because you've already got it. And vice versa, the people literally to this very day driving around in their cars with a mask and a deflector shield because they're doing the fucking tunnel run in New Hope. Those people, there's no amount of charts you're going to send those people that's going to change their minds. Would you agree with that? There's no chart. That website would not change their opinion one bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just thought it was interesting, really. I mean, yeah, I was already kind of biased, so I kind of went into it kind of expecting to know what was going to happen, but at the
Mhm.
same time, it was just still kind of like, man, like, and I guess if I was on the other side where I thought, oh, COVID's going to kill me, this is it. Like, I have only like maybe a year left, possibly because COVID's going to kill me or whatever. And you go and be like, well, they obviously must have manipulated the numbers or something. Like, I mean, the CDC still says, or the WHO or whatever,